going to decrease volatility, and it's going to increase confidence of large public investors and large public companies. That'll be part. I think if we get clarity from FASB or any kind of improvement in the accounting situation, that's a plus. And there's a groundswell of interest, right? There were 515 letters sent to FASB on this subject, and there was a lot of commentary from regulators, from we've got congressmen, we've got senators, we've got auditors, we've got big institutional investors, we've got big publicly traded companies, and they're all opining on the issue. So, and I have yet to see anybody, I haven't seen any articulation by anyone suggesting that the current accounting treatment is beneficial.
Yeah,
right?
no, I think that's fair.
So it's broad-based consensus that it's time to take a look at this again. So I think that accounting is important. I think that, we just see the barriers with the banks getting knocked down, right? Like at the point that you saw the commentary by the chair of the FDIC, where she said, we're looking for ways to allow banks to hold Bitcoin on their balance sheets, right? If FDIC, it used to be our dream was one day big banks may actually own Bitcoin, what if all the big banks own Bitcoin? But now I think we've flipped to another observation, and this is an interesting one. In that stablecoin working group paper that was released last week, not only did they say it's okay for FDIC-approved banks to hold stablecoins, they actually said it's required to be an FDIC-insured bank to hold a stablecoin. Okay, so we're actually growing up as a crypto industry. We're going from unlicensed, non-institutional grade corporations that are primarily entrepreneurial and fast-moving to licensed, institutional, regulated entities. And if you look at that, isn't the conclusion that the next step, I see as a green light, JP Morgan, Citigroup, Bank of America are going to issue $1 trillion worth of stablecoins. I mean, it's an invitation, like it's a green light to every single bank in the world, right? If you're Silvergate or anybody that's in the crypto industry now, right? This is kind of a message. I don't think it's that much longer, right? If you can hold a stable coin as a digital asset, it's not that much longer before you hold Bitcoin as a digital asset. And if the FDIC is saying we need to find a way for banks to be able to hold this, and if the president's working group is saying you need to be a bank in order to hold the stable coin, then I think that sometime in the next 12 months, we actually start to see large banks getting in the business.
Is this good or bad? The financialization of Bitcoin, let's talk about, and then there's obviously all of these other technologies and assets. But I think that there's a group that would argue the more that the asset becomes financialized, the more that it gets not just accepted by the licensed organizations, but you see legislation or directives that say you have to be FDIC insured in order to interface with this stuff. They look at that as negative. There's other people who look at it as a positive. So how do you think about the pros and cons of what I'll just call the financialization of what were assets that many people were attracted to in the beginning because they weren't part of the existing system?
Bitcoin is decentralized and it's an asset and it's already gone to 200 million places. And you might not like the people that own it, right? Don't they call it the money of enemies?
Yeah.
Right? The point is Bitcoin's going to people who have politics that you disagree with, right? It's almost certain. So it's spreading at such a rate. It's like fire and it's like electricity or mathematics, and you can have an opinion. Do you think it's good or bad for banks to have mathematics? It's like, we're the only ones with math. Is it good or bad for people to be able to read and write? It used to, there was a concern that we shouldn't let everybody read and write. It's just basic technology. It's spreading as fast as it can spread. The reason it's superior to gold is because I can snap my fingers and I can withdraw $1 billion of Bitcoin from the bank in 5 minutes.
Correct.
Okay? And the thing that's going to maintain its integrity is the fact that you can shift counterparties. You can move, if you can move $10 billion of an asset out of a jurisdiction, I can move it out of Miami, I can move it out of a bank, I can move it out of a country, I can move it out of a system. It's always going to have more integrity than the alternative. So coming back to this, it's like, okay, are you comfortable? There are a lot of people that don't think you should have a software wallet on an iPhone. You should have a hardware wallet, right? There are a lot of people that think that it's better if what if I don't want your family to have it because I don't like somebody in your family, right? What if I don't want your small company? You have a private company. Do you own some Bitcoin? Well, you know, did you sell out? Now there's a company that's got other corporate interests that has some Bitcoin. A lot of people don't want a public company to have it. Why? Well, public companies have shareholders. Yeah, well, I don't want a country to have it, right? I mean, there are a lot of people that are concerned that El Salvador uses Bitcoin. Well, it might get hijacked by the politicians. What if Turkey actually starts buying Bitcoin? Do I like it? Do I not like it? But the point is, it doesn't matter what you think, right? It's not. It's like you sitting and saying, I'm really angry that someone else is using arithmetic other than me, right? It's spreading like wildfire. It seems to me that the world's a better place if people have monetary integrity than if they don't have monetary integrity.
I agree.
Right? Right? And in this particular case, is this good? Yeah, of course it's good. Right? Why is it good? It's good because what we want to do is fix everything, not destroy everything, right? If you want to fix the bank, then they replace their bonds with Bitcoin and the capital structure of the bank is better. Do you want to fix every publicly traded company in the world? Do you want to fix the balance sheet of Apple and Google and Facebook and Amazon? If I tell you that they have to do the deal through an FDIC insured bank, then you either can fix them, right? There are a lot of people that don't want to fix them. They don't want Apple or Google or Facebook to fix their balance sheet. They don't want them to fix their product. But on the other hand, I'm an optimist. What do I think? I think 8 billion people should be using Bitcoin as a digital asset. Now, there's two ways to do it, the easy way and the hard way. The hard way is topple every government in the universe, destroy every technology company, and create my own hardware wallet and my own decentralized, well, let's rip back to the network, destroy every big tech platform, destroy every big company, and somehow let's build something totally new. That's the hard way. Seems pretty stressful to me. What's the easy way? The easy way is all the big banks start issuing stablecoin, a token called the US dollar, right? A US dollar stablecoin. And we go from $130 billion in stablecoins to $1 trillion of stablecoins to $10 trillion of stablecoins to $100 trillion of USD. And then 8 billion people have an iPhone or an Android phone with a wallet, and they do 10, 20, 50 transactions a day at the speed of light on the Lightning Network. And that's the best, right? A decentralized, non-custodial network moving at the speed of light for free. Next best is they move these things around on the Android or the iMessage or the WhatsApp or the Facebook or layer 2 or layer 3 application, right? That's second best. And they do it without toppling every government on earth, right? Like, I can't, there's 130 currencies that are floating right now. 130. How many do we need? Well, we certainly could get by the next step with 12, right? The CNY is not going away, and the USD is, unless you wish to topple the government of China and the government of the US and the governments of the Western world, which I don't think you want to do, right? You got bigger problems if you did, right? Like security and safety and food
there'd be
and
mass
water.
chaos, and it would be a very, very painful situation for everyone.
Yeah, right. Like so if you look at an optimistic view, let's just actually make the world a better place and a win-win for everybody.
So your thought process is this asset, which has that monetary integrity that you're talking about, it's fully transparent. It's in many cases, you could look at it as an automated central bank. Nobody controls it. It just sits there programmatically executing what the code says for it to do. That will serve as a global store of value. Other people will then choose to take their fiat currencies and upgrade the technology. Doesn't necessarily change their monetary policy, but they can then go ahead and digitize or tokenize the dollar, the euro, the yen, the won, whatever currency. And then they would basically use the Bitcoin network payment rails to have those assets fly around the world however people chose. But ultimately, people would go back to and settle in Bitcoin as that global store of value.
Partially, but
Okay.
it's a more elaborate idea, which is my idea is we incrementally upgrade everything everywhere for everybody in the most peaceful, least painful, least jarring way, right? So the incremental upgrade means we deploy to 8 billion people, to everybody on the planet, we deploy digital wallets. In the wallet, you have a set of currencies and a set of assets. And in that wallet in Argentina, you've got your peso and you've got your dollar as currencies. If you want to hold something for a day, you hold a peso. If you want to hold it for a month, you hold a dollar. If you want to hold it for a lifetime, you hold Bitcoin, right? You've got digital assets. Bitcoin is the strongest digital asset. Is it the only asset? No, because you've got a company, there are buildings, there's Apple. I still like Google. I want my YouTube. I like Netflix, right? We need Domino's Pizza. We need Bitcoin pizza. Someone's got to manufacture the cameras that are staring at us right now. We've got a microphone. We can't just have one asset. We have multiple assets. We have multiple currencies. Will all currencies survive? No. The weak ones, the ones that are truly defective, will go away. 66 countries are dollarized. Mm-hmm. There's 180 countries in the world. How many currencies do we really need? Right? Right now it's China and the USD, right? You might actually collapse down to 2, but more likely you'll have the yen and you'll have the euro and you'll have the dollar. Is there any currency in Africa that you really want to hold more than the dollar if you had the freedom of choice? Not really. What will you do though? You need the local currency for local payments, right? If there's a strong local government, you need the local currency to pay your tax bills because it's mandated by law. You need the global currency, and let's call the US the global reserve digital currency, the global reserve currency. You need that as a medium of exchange. If you want to buy something in Argentina from someone in Brazil, or you want to buy something in Africa from someone in Venezuela, you're probably going to swap dollars, right? Why? Because there's 100 million companies, Pomp, that have invested 30 years to create accounting systems and point of sale systems to process billions and billions of transactions in those currencies. Like my company does it. I can actually swap my balance sheet to Bitcoin using 3 people, and I can do that in a matter of weeks. Swapping all of my vendor payments, all of my payroll, and all of my receivables into Bitcoin, that would be 1 billion times harder, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's not worth 1 billion times more stress and effort. It's just not worth it, right? It's in an inflationary environment, money decomposes into a currency layer, which is losing value hopefully slowly. If your currency lost value at 1% a month, but your asset gained value at 15, 20% a year, that's stable. Now, do we need to replace it? Not this decade, right? I'm not going to speculate 30, 40, 50 years out, but I rather kind of feel like a more nuanced idea. Here's a nuanced idea. I want to build the 21st century economy on a strong foundation of integrity and trust and thermodynamic soundness and energy, pure energy. So that means the balance sheet, the foundation of every institution should be built on Bitcoin. But every institution has its own derivative, its own security from Bitcoin. So when you create your company, if you want to take your company public, you should be able to issue stocks and stock options backed by Bitcoin. I'm not denying that. If Turkey goes and they buys billions of dollars of Bitcoin, they can keep the currency. They would be backing the currency with a hard asset. How many institutions are there in the world that need some control? Like maybe if I said to you, you can't issue stock in a company, is that good for the economy? Not really. If I said no country can print its own currency, is that good? Probably not really, right? Because the politicians need some power over the currency, right? I mean, unless you come up with a way to generate all the food and all the products that we need without companies and without countries, like when you figure that out, that's like a utopian idea, then maybe you can live with Bitcoin only and the like. But in the meantime, which is like, let's just focus on the next decade, because there's no point in solving this problem after the year 2030, right?
Yeah.
Right? Focus on the next decade. The next decade, it works like this. All the big banks issue USD stable coins. What happens? The US dollar replaces all the weak currencies and it grows in strength, right? The US dollar can become the daily currency of 6 billion people.
And it has been doing that for some time. You mentioned the dollarized countries.
Right now, analog dollars in the 20th century banking system is the reserve currency of the world, but it's an awful, inefficient system, right?
Yeah.
How do you send $100 to someone on Saturday afternoon if they live in Africa, if you live in South America? Send someone to a friend of yours in Paris on a Tuesday. I dare you, right? So the point right now is the US dollar is the world's reserve currency, but it's running on 20th century rails. So the US dollar should evolve to run on crypto rails. It should run on, we can debate, right? Lightning rails, what's up rails, any other crypto, right? Interesting question. But what we can't debate, which is 100% certain, is everybody wants to be able to move the money at the speed of light and program it on a computer chip on a Saturday afternoon. Sometimes we get in this confrontational state where people think, well, it's Bitcoin versus the Fed or Bitcoin versus the dollar. It's not, right? We can all win, right? It's a win dollar.